We have a special treat for you this afternoon. I know you know that we're here in the red zone. When we stepped out, you saw the name Red McCombs out in the stadium when you looked up. And we're very pleased to have with us today the Red McCombs. And now I know that each and every one of you have read each and every one of the bios that we painstakingly put in your notebooks. But I think it's worth repeating here today a little bit about the story of Mr. McCombs. He was born in 1927 in Spur, Texas, and attended Southwestern University and the University of Texas at Austin School of Business and the School of Law. At 22, he began his career as a salesman in the automobile business in Corpus Christi. In 1958, he moved to San Antonio and led Red McCombs Automotive and its 60 dealerships to the 6th largest dealer group in the United States. He has been in the energy business since the early 1960s and moved that business to Houston in 1965. McCombs Energy continues to grow and operates throughout the West and the Southwest. Mr. McCombs has always been active in real estate development and sales, including numerous joint ventures, the largest of which is the Kuntz McCombs Development Company with over $1 billion in developed projects. In 1972, Mr. McCombs and business partner Lowry Mays founded Clear Channel Communications, and I think most of you have heard that, by purchasing one radio station in San Antonio and grew the company to be the largest in the world in numbers of radio stations and numbers of outdoor billboards. Mr. McCombs has always served in leadership roles in many national, state, and local organizations. He served as chairman of the Board of Trustees of Southwestern University, where he has been honored as a distinguished alumnus. He's also served as chairman of the University of Texas MD Anderson Cancer Center in Houston. He has chaired many fund drives and community service organizations. He was honored by the University of Texas at Austin as a distinguished alumnus and also has been the recipient of the President's Award. He has been honored by their nationally acclaimed business school as it was renamed, and you all know this, those of you who wore the shirts when you arrived, the Red McCombs School of Business. He's been honored and recognized by many organizations, including the San Antonio Business Hall of Fame, the San Antonio Sports Hall of Fame, the Texas Business Hall of Fame, and the College Football Hall of Fame's Gold Medal Award in 2001. He's also been honored by the American Academy of Achievement, received the Corporate Citizenship Award from the Woodrow Wilson International Center for Scholars, and the Texas Legend Award from the Texas Automobile Dealers Association. He also received the Living Legend Award as Texan of the Year. He recently was honored by the Celebrity Fight Night Foundation with their prestigious Humanitarian Award. He has received honorary PhDs from the University of Texas at San Antonio, Texas Lutheran University, and Southwestern University. He is the former owner of the NFL Minnesota Vikings, where he received the NFL Owner of the Year Award during his second year in the league. He has also owned the NBA Denver Nuggets and the San Antonio Spurs, which he secured for San Antonio in 1973. At age 25, he purchased his first professional sports team, the Corpus Christi Texas Clippers, in the Big State Baseball League. The University of Texas dedicated Mr. McCombs' statue at the north entrance to Darrell Royal Memorial Football Stadium in August 2010. His daughter, Marcia Shields, was named chairperson of the McCombs Enterprise activities in 2003 and works alongside Mr. McCombs, who still maintains his lifelong, and this is really important, 60-hour work week, providing creative direction, expertise, and daily oversight of all McCombs operations. Mr. McCombs married the former Charlene Hamblin in Corpus Christi in 1950. Their daughters, Linda McCombs, Marcia Shields, and Connie McNabb, 10 grandchildren and 3 great-grandchildren all reside in San Antonio. Please join me in welcoming Red McCombs.
This being a little bit feeble is a new thing for me, and I'm not saying that I at all like it, but I don't have much choice, so I'm kind of learning how to live with it. Thanks for the very nice introduction. I really sent her about 3 times that much. I don't know why she edited me so, but no, I'm really delighted to be here with you guys. I'm going to talk about a few things, and then I really want to have dialogue with you, and I want you to be prepared to ask me any question or make any comment and ask me to comment on your comment. And I think we'll all enjoy ourselves a lot more by doing that. This is a real special occasion. I think that that the program that you're in, which involves leadership roles and training for leadership roles, is a great value and something that all of us could learn from and be involved in. As was mentioned, I was born and raised in a very small West Texas town. There were 16 people in my graduating class, so that will give you some idea. I doubt if there's any person here who will be in a class that small. So you could look and say, well, at a school like that, you really start behind the curve. If I did, I never knew it, because I found the colleges and universities I went to, from the smallest to the largest, to be very exciting and to be everything that I ever dreamed or thought they would be. I got out of high school when I was 16. I did turn 17 the following October, so I was on the cusp of being 17. World War II was in full bloom, and America was going through something that none of us, young, old, or otherwise, had ever thought we would experience. But it was not a bad time. In fact, in many ways, it was a very good time, because we were so united as a country. There always be people with differing opinions and people who would disagree on programs, whether it be local, state, national, or what. But all of it was done with such dignity and class that as a young guy growing up, you really didn't feel like there was anybody other than any thoughts other than the major thought that everyone was pushing for. And of course, that thought was that we had to do everything we could to get our mostly men ready to go to war. At that time, there were very few women involved. That's totally changed now, as you know. So it was an interesting time. It was an exciting time. But I will say that my entire life has been an interesting time and an exciting time. The thing that I think is so critical to all of us is, how do we fit in all of this? Because at the end of the day, any of us really have a very insignificant role in what's happening in the city or the state or the nation that we're in. However, that insignificant role is very significant when you look at how do things happen anywhere. And everyone could say that they were in an insignificant role, and then they become interested and are asked and selected to take bigger roles and to get more involved. I have always wanted to be a leader. It took me a while to figure out that to be a leader, you had to really be a great follower, because from great followers, we develop the skills and we develop the attitudes that great leaders have. Great leaders are the answer, And by great, I'm not talking about you have to be someone that has his name all over everything in town, although that's nice. I enjoy it. But you have to respect those who are providing leadership in your towns, in your churches, in your schools, and everything you're involved with. I think that life, as we all look at it, is a journey that is so unique that just as no one has your DNA, no one will have exactly the same kind of life that you're going to have. Similar, but not the same. So as you look out at where you are, you finished your junior year in high school, you're really anxious to get into that senior year and finish off strongly, and then you want to go to the university of your choice. Most of you suspect by being selected for a program like this, which is highly selective in itself, most of you will probably get to do that. Some of you will be a little disappointed. And as much as I love the schools that I attended, let me be the first to say that all schools are great places to grow. And don't be disappointed to the point to where you feel like you really missed something. I didn't get to the University of Texas on the first cut, but I got to a very small school, Southwestern University, just north of here, about 35 miles, because I had to have a scholarship of some kind. And when I graduated from high school in 1944, we had very few academic type scholarships. We did have athletic scholarships and scholarships in certain fields such as music, art, and such. I couldn't get any attention for an athletic scholarship. I hitchhiked all over the state of Texas. My mother was very concerned about me hitchhiking, but hitchhiking during the war years, as we always relate to World War II, was a different story than it is now. We didn't have the crime element. We didn't have locks on all the doors. We didn't have jails full. It was a fairly peaceful and very dynamic situation. But I was turned down by coach after coach after coach. Baylor had suspended football during World War II. It's the only school in the conference that did. And that summer, they were deciding to load up again and get ready for the following year to field a team in 1945. I was a walk-on there, and in the middle of August, it was extremely difficult time as far as the physical requirements with the heat, and I really thought I had made the team because a number of guys had been cut. I really thought that I had made it, but one day after practice, the coach called me and two other guys in, and he said, I'm sorry to tell you guys, but you can't help me. There are already things that have happened in your life to where certain phrases are just in your brain and you couldn't get them out if you tried to. But when you're looking at a coach and he's saying, you can't help me, you don't ever forget it, I assure you. This guy was such a great man. He said, I appreciate how hard you've worked. And although you can't help me, I've spent some time on the phone, and I have a place for all three of you if you care to, or any one of you. I get you a full ticket over at Tyler Junior College, which had great programs in those days, under a coach named Floyd Wagstaff. Or I can get you into Southwestern University. I wasn't really familiar with Southwestern, but I knew a little about it. But I said, isn't Southwestern a four-year university? Yes, it is, a very good one, right down the road. So I chose to come to Southwestern. Once I got there, I was not disappointed because, as I was mentioning to the classmates of yours at the table we're sitting, the circles of life that we participate in my notion, for most of us, there could be exceptions, but for most of us really don't change much. And whether you come from a little town, a little school, or a big city or a big school, most of us have a half a dozen, maybe eight or so really tight buddies, really close people. Then we have another circle that if we were having a birthday party or such, that'd probably be 15 to 16 to 18 people. And then there are about 40 to 50 people that we know well enough to speak to, enjoy seeing at church, in the town or whatever. And that circle doesn't really change a lot. And you could be living in New York City and that circle will still be similar. But I found a college to be everything that I ever thought it would be. It was exciting, it was exhilarating. And then when I got over here, which was my dream always, it was everything that I thought it would be. So at that time, this university was about half the size as it is now as far as size. But through all of it, I've always wanted to be in a leadership role. And if there's something that comes up, whether it be in a Boy Scout troop or in anything else, and somebody says, I need somebody to look after this, do this or this, I'm a big-time volunteer. I like that role, but again, I will say that before you can be a successful leader, you have to really learn to be a very successful follower. So moving in on past through that, I got one of my greatest disappointments here because being leaders in my little town, there were about 4 or 5 guys that seemed to be the ones that made the decisions for everything. By the way, am I speaking loud enough to where you can hear? There seemed to be 4 or 5 guys that were involved in the decisions of everything happening in my little town. And I wanted to be one of those kind of guys. I was not the most accomplished guy in the sciences, so that limited some fields. And I decided that maybe the best thing that I could be to career-wise was to become a lawyer. I got my program finished where I could get into law school here. Enjoyed it. Law school essentially is a 3-year program. In the spring of my second year, I had a fraternity brother who had finished number 5 in the class the previous spring. And he had been a lot of help to me as a first-year law student, and him being a third year, been a lot of help to me in studying, etc. So I went over and visited with him to find out what he was doing. I thought maybe he was just driving through town. But he had been disappointed in the workplace that he found, and he was offered jobs at all the top law firms in the big cities in Texas. But the work they had him do was essentially research work for the more experienced lawyers. And he told me that that really wasn't what he was thinking that he'd be doing. So he had agreed with one of his professors to come back and do some student teaching for a while. And I was kind of stunned because here I was, my whole life was built around getting this place to make my big run from. And when he told me that that was not really what he was looking for, I just almost lost it, because I'm thinking, God, I couldn't sleep at night. So I came over the next morning and talked to a dean here, and he told me, well, that's the way it works. You earn your way, and it takes time, and I am still today, I'm always on a fast track. I want to get more things done, get more things going. I want to be moving more, always. So I decided that really I hadn't understood what the practice of law was about. And for me to be spending 3 or 4 years at least doing research for senior partners would never have worked for me. But I didn't know that. So I finished that second year, so I got my grades and all, but I knew then that I was ready to go into the business world and find some place. I didn't intend to be in the automobile business where I started because my father was an auto mechanic. He was very, 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 very comfortable with his role in life. He loved diagnosing other people's problems, fixing their cars, and my 3 sibs and I had a very decent life in every respect, but certainly it was not a life that had a lot of opportunity outside of the daily work and chores. So I'd become very close to the girl that I married a couple of years later. And in November, we will have 60 years of that. So don't let anybody tell you it can't work. But I had a date with Charlene and took her home and stopped by a hangout where kids hung out. And one of the guys there was a guy that had finished up here a year ahead of me. And when he found out what I was going to do, he said, well, why are you going to do that? Because I'd gotten through the university. I'd gotten a corporate job. The training class was 6 weeks till it opened up. So I had 6 weeks to burn. And in the meantime, then I was going back down to Foul Furious and work on a drilling rig, which I had done for about 3 years off and on. And he said, well, don't do that. Just stay here and sell cars with me. And I said, well, I have no interest in doing that whatsoever. So much for all this planning about where you're going and what you're going to do. Good luck. But we talked a little more, and he said, well, look, you report, instead of early in the morning, report about noon. Come on down and visit with the sales manager and talk to him, because we're going to add another salesman. Well, from that, I started selling cars, and I knew within 2 weeks that I really wanted to do that. So I called my prospective employer and told him that I was not going to report. And he asked me why, and I told him, and he said, you're going to pass a management program with our company for you to sell cars. Yes. He said, well, maybe I shouldn't have hired you in the first place. I said, well, time will tell, won't it? I like what I'm doing. I know how to do it. I've already found out in a couple of weeks I do it very well. And I really appreciate the opportunity, but I'm staying with that. Well, from that, I moved on up the line very quickly. Where most of the salesmen were selling 8 to 10 cars a month, I was selling 30 to 40. And you get recognized real quickly if you're in any field where production is what you get paid on, and you're by far the biggest producer. So I got a real good, fast head start in that. It was really off and running. Charlie and I had gotten married. And so we had a couple of kids, and I'd had one year at Southwestern, I had a roommate who was a baseball player, and he had signed with the Yankees. And I'd just gone into the used car business for myself. I worked for this other dealer for 3 years. He was the only guy I ever worked for. And I'd persuaded a bank to assist me, which at age 25 in 1953 was very difficult to do. Right now, youth has a great premium, a tremendous premium. It did not at the time when I was coming up. You had to be about 40 years old before people recognized you for leadership roles, management, that kind of thing. So my friend called me and he said, I'm playing in Class A. I know I'm not going any bigger. So I see that baseball team in your town is going to take bankruptcy. Why don't you take that baseball team, and I'll leave my job, and I'll come up and I'll run the baseball part, and you run the business part, and we'll make some money and have a lot of fun. And I said, well, I can't do that. I've already got everything I've got into my new business. I've only been in it 2 or 3 months. And he said, oh, come on, Red, get creative. And that's a phrase I use to other people all the time. So he fed me my own message back. Come on, start thinking, get creative, find a way. Any rate, I found a way, and it's mentioned that was my first ownership in a professional sports team. We did extremely well. In our league, we had Laredo, Harlingen, and Brownsville. And then we had Austin and a few teams up in East Texas. We did very well, and we made enough money the first year to pay off all the creditors, and we were really rolling. So I was running my car business all day and playing baseball all night, but it was a very great experience. And quite frankly, the style and the type business and what you have to do in it is not a whole lot difference, except for a lot of zeros between the lower minor leagues and the NBA or the NFL. Because I've now been able to do all of them. So at any rate, we got a good start. In the meantime, I've always been entrepreneurial, and that's really what I wanted to talk a little bit with you guys about today. So I better get wound up here. I'll be talking too long. But I've always wanted to be involved in more than one thing, and I always have been. While I was here on the campus, I'd be involved in at least 2 or 3 things and still carrying a full load. So as I was kind of moving on, as you would say, opportunities came here, opportunities came there. I was doing very well in automotive business, had national recognition within a few years, was offered opportunities in San Antonio, Houston, and Dallas, all within a period of 16 months. So after about 5 years of running my own business in Corpus and selling the baseball team to my partner, I was really on the way, so to speak, because I had 4 dealerships in the 3 biggest cities in Texas. I had leadership in every city, by far, making good money and doing a lot of other things. So my career always involved a lot of things, and I'll just give you that background as to how starting at a level that you couldn't think you'd move from that level up to the levels that I have been able to accomplish over my many years. I look back on it myself sometimes and I wonder just really what drove me. But what drove me was number one, I don't have any fear of failure. I have failed at a lot of things. And I give something the best shot I got. If I'm not seeing good results from it, well, then I move on. I've sold businesses to other people who do well where I didn't, and I applaud them for doing it. But the big thing is, whatever I do, I'm going to win. And I think that really, that's what life is. Life is an experience of day to day in a level of winning or losing. And in my little simple world, everything comes down to that. When I start driving back to San Antonio tonight, I will evaluate what happened here while I'm here, and I'll put a grade on it in my mind. Did I win or did I lose? If I win, I will feel like I've had some impact on you. If I feel like that I haven't had any impact on you, then I'll say, I should have handled it a little differently. But I really believe that I really look at everything in winning and losing. And I think how you get the mental aspect, and anyone can do this, but you have to really work at it, because it's not just a natural thing that you wake up one morning and say, I'm going to be a winner. To expect to be a winner, and that's where you have to get to expect to be a winner. And that's a lot different from wanting to be a winner. To expect to be a winner, you have to, number one, be very well prepared at what you're going to do. Number two, you got to execute very well at what you're going to do. So either step is a big step. Being prepared to do it and executing once you get there. So as we've moved on through the years, I've been very fortunate. As the introduction mentioned, I come from a very humble background, but I came from a background of winning. My father thought he was the best in the world at what he did. He chose to be an auto mechanic, and he was totally pleased with that all his life. My mother wanted to see that her children all did well, and she pretty well insisted that we do well. My mother was tough, but you develop this attitude of winning, and you develop the attitude of wanting to excel and do better and do more things. So I think it really doesn't matter a lot where you start. You just want to excel and win at that level. And then you choose another level, you want to do the same thing. So whatever field you follow, you'll have certain parameters within any given field. You'll have to have the education background to accomplish it. You'll have to have the intellect to grow with it. But more important than all of those is that feeling within you that you expect to win. So I think I'm going to slow down for a minute and hear from you guys, and we'll take a few minutes and I'll try to answer any of your questions, any comments, and feel free to ask me anything you like or discuss anything you'd like. Since you got me up and got me in this.
Hi, Mr. McCombs. I'm Diego Escobar from Dallas, Texas.
Okay, would you say that again a little bit slower?
Oh, I'm Diego Escobar from Dallas, Texas.
Thank you, Diego.
First, I'd like to thank you to come out here and speak to us and tell us your story. So, what I had to ask you is, what would you say was your greatest motivation from first starting in football, then going into car salesman, and then becoming such a big character in the sales world? Would you say it's your mentality or a series of events that eventually led you to where you are right now?
It was a drive to win. And I wasn't really looking at scope of things. As has been mentioned, a partner and I built the biggest communication company in the world, and started with one radio station that we paid $125,000 for. But the same principle has applied always, and that is reaching a point to where you really expect to win. And that's something that you work on. You read all the books you want to about it, and it's not something that is going to happen every time. But if you really get into it, and you could call it something else, you could put different numbers on it, but basically, like today, I'll be 84 in a couple of months. No McCombs male has ever been known to have a 72nd birthday. So just looking at that in history, and I certainly haven't lived the kind of life that would, say, put me in a primo situation to outlive everybody. But I never dwelled much on that. It was just a fact. But as far as what drives, it's just something within you. But don't think that necessarily that you can go take a pill and get it. You got to really believe in yourself, and you got to believe that when you don't win, you research that a little bit in your mind. Every night when I go to bed, I do a calculation, just a little short, like doing your prayers. And I go over the day. Was I a better father today? Was I a better husband today? Was I a better friend today? Did I do something that made a difference? Not just money. Did I do something that made a difference? And sometimes I come up short. I don't want you to think now this is like something that you dread and something that you just don't want to even think about, because to me, it is something that is very exciting. Because when I have days that I feel like I really didn't make a difference at all to anybody or anything, I really don't sleep too well at night. I can't wait till the next morning to start again and try to pick up the slack a little, as we'd say. So somewhere within you, that notion of excelling, driving, winning, anything you want to call it, and you've got to get to where that is something that's just a part of your DNA. Now, I mentioned about 4 times already, you can't be a good leader until you have been a good follower. When you become a good follower, you will be asked to become a leader. And it doesn't matter where you're working, what you're involved in. If you come a little earlier, stay a little later, do things others don't want to do your part more than what you have to, you'll be noticed, and you'll either get promoted or you'll have a competitor that will notice you, and he'll want you to come work with him. It just works. So did that give you any kind of answer?
I'm Armand Nance from Houston, Texas. And
Say again?
My name is Armand Nance, and I'm from Houston, Texas. I was
Okay.
wondering, who did you follow to become successful the way you are?
I had a hard time. Who did I follow? Well, great question. I've always had heroes, like I have heroes now. And I always look up to these heroes for what they do and what they accomplish and what they mean. And they cover every walk of life, because you don't know just who's at any given moment or given time. So I've always wanted to be around people who were successful. I don't mind carrying the luggage. I don't mind being the gopher. I'd rather be around someone who's accomplishing something. And I'll do anything for them. But if I can, I will spend my time around people who are doing things. And when I was young, after I got married, I was 23 when I got married, and some of my buddies began to say, what the hell has happened to him? And they'd tell me, you're not doing this with us, you're not doing that with us. Because I had realized really real quickly that a lot of them really weren't doing much. And that was fun when you're just goofing off, but that didn't go very far with me. And I like to be around people who were successful, who had done things. And then when I got up to be about 50 or 55, and those were generally older people. Then when I got to be about 50 or 55, I realized I didn't really like to be around old people. They didn't think quite the same way I'd like to think, and they didn't move the same way. And then I began to want to spend more of the time when I'd have opportunity with younger people. And like today in our business, we have what is loosely called, you can look us up on the website, but we're loosely, and I ask all of you to take a shot at it, at McCombs Partners. Well, McCombs Partners are young people who have already been successful and are successful, and I think I can help them become more successful. So if it's a business, I buy into their business. I'll take a minor position, but in addition to providing some capital, I also will provide leadership and management. And if you look in there, you'll see some interesting backgrounds, interesting young guys. But that is something that is very important to me. And the technology that we're all living through and have been through the last 20 years, it's just a total game changer. And as all you know, it changes almost by the day. So we're really into some technology programs, different companies. And we've already built some up, sold some. But we always have 10 or 15 companies that are what I call McCombs Partners that we work with that way. And then I bring something to the table to them, and I learn from them. And together, 2 and 2 makes 5, which is what we want to do. Now, over this way.
My name is Fernando Rizaldi.
Just talk slowly and a little bit louder because I got
My
something
name
behind
is-
me making a little noise here.
Hi, my name is Fernando Elizalde. I'm a deaf student from the Valley, South Texas, and I wanted to know about it. Can you tell us about a time that you went through a hardship when life had you down? Can you tell us how you got through that?
Well, I don't think I've ever had any hardship that was a life-threatening hardship. To me, losing at anything is a hard time. I've had great disappointments, certainly, and what you do there is take a look and say, why? How did this happen? Why did I not win this? And it's easy to put the why on somebody else. But what I try to look is say, what did I not do? Was I not prepared for this? Did I not execute? But I do. They don't always win. But I really spend some time with that. But I never let that get in my way of trying to move forward. Because the way I look at life, if you get in and you have the right attitude about all the things you're doing, you're going to lose some battles, but you're going to win the war. And so that works for me. It might not work for somebody else, but that works for me.
Hi, my name is Amanda Martinez from Laredo, Texas. First of all, it's an honor to be in your presence. I just was wondering what you think is lacking in the education system today.
What's lacking in education today? I really don't know of anything, quite frankly. I think the education today is rolled right up to the edge, because in whatever course you're in, every one of your teachers is wanting to get right up to the edge to prepare you, because the joy of being a teacher is a special joy, and I don't think really that we have any big holes in it. Now, if I were designing the course for me and what I would want, and if I were going to take a group of students, I would want to move them as quickly as I could move them. Sometimes you're in courses that you already have been through, and you know, and you don't know until you're in the middle of the course, and you're really plowing old ground. I have a hard time with that, and with that, I'm apt to go talk to my professor and say I'm a little bit disappointed. We've covered that ground in another course, whatever, such. Sometimes you get a little satisfaction. Sometimes you get a look like, I wish I hadn't said anything. But I think you've got to express yourself as to what you expect out of these courses. These professors are trained to respond to that, and we want them to respond to that. Now, there's only one reason for this school here, and that is the student and the teacher. All the rest of the things, like these buildings and all these other elements that we use in the process, is just that. They're just part of the process. But this is all about the students. This is why this university is such a great place to be. This is all about the students, and the professors are generally all into that, and you get good response on it. And that's what the equalizer is that they want you to do well, and to do that, they've got to be on the cutting edge. And I think that's what you'll find without any doubt. Man in the pretty blue shirt.
Hello, I'm Domingo Favela from Westaco, Texas. And my question is, how would you define success?
Success? Okay, I think that's a really great question. Success, in my mind, is when you've done something that you wanted to accomplish, and you've accomplished it, and what you did affected others in a positive way, the same as it affected you. And I think there is where you begin to feel success. I want the people that I work around to have the same joy out of life that I have. I want them to have the opportunities that I have. So I think that money is tied too many times to success. Money is nothing but a measure. But I've always said it's really not even important until you need it and you don't have it. Then it gets pretty important. But basically, I expect to get a profit. Thank you. I expect to make a profit and to get a good return out of everything that I do. But as I've already said, you don't always get there. But if you don't, then you're trying to determine what happened. Why didn't I? So I think success is first. What do you want to accomplish? What do you want to do? And whatever that is, you can have something that is of the moment. You can have something that is out here. So if it's of the moment, that's pretty easy to determine whether you're getting it done or whether you're not. If it's out here, you've got to wait and see if what out here is what you anticipated it would be, and your approach to it is what you anticipated. And there, it might be, it might not be. But I guess maybe in one way, it's always been a little bit easier for me because I've always been involved in more than one thing, and so I've always got several fires going that are all one just as important to me as the other because I want them to succeed and excel and do well. That's very generous.
That is. Thank you. Well, my name is Steven Dominguez, and I live here in Austin. Being an Austinite and growing up at UT, you see the McCombs name, your name everywhere, and I just have to say that being in the red zone, hearing you talk has just been amazing. You know, it's a dream within itself. One question that I did have for you is that being involved in so many activities, especially during in college, how did you manage your time?
Good question. And I talk about this at times. You know, we talk about equality and all it means, et cetera, et cetera. There's one place where we're all totally equal, and that is God gives each one of us 24 hours a day. It's not something we've earned. It's not something that we deserve. So one place where we're all equal, we start exactly the same, is we all get 24 hours. Now the issue is, what are you going to do with it? What's going to happen in those 24 hours? Well, not necessarily do you have to go out and do something that makes you money. You can spend that time working with a friend that has deep problems. Maybe you could help. You spend that time trying to help someone get through something that they're trying to solve that they haven't. And I would still call that being very successful. So I think success is truly all in the mind. And I know people that are extremely accomplished. They don't feel like they're successful. And that's because of their mental makeup, the way they approach things. I always feel like that I have a successful day, but there are many days when I feel like that I really could have done better than what I did. And again, I've already discussed that. But you've got to, in all of this mix, obviously, you've got to be involved in things that either you enjoy or else you certainly don't just totally dislike. It's very hard to be successful at something that you dislike, you don't want to be there, you don't want to be involved. So if you get into a situation like that, you've got to either work your way through it pretty quickly or else you need to move over to something else. Because basically, attitude is everything. And it's one thing that all of us have. And we may think that we're the only one that really knows what we're thinking or attitude, but we don't. We all have body language. And people can tell it by our voice. They can tell it by looking at us as to when you're on your game, so to speak. So success is I think, is in everyone's mind. And you in your mind have to determine what is success to you. Because at the end of the day, what's important is how you feel about it. How you feel about it. And that's where you develop these skills and notions of leadership. You become a good follower, and people don't recognize what you're doing. That's disappointing, but you're learning from it. And when you get a chance to be a leader, then you will recognize people for what they're doing, and then you'll become a bigger and a better leader. So I really enjoyed being with all of you. I think you have to realize to start with that you already have accomplished a lot. You got to be really proud of yourselves right now, because just think of how many seniors to be in high school would love to be sitting here where you are, and you're here. It's not whether you're going to get here or not, you're here. So while you're here, this is your domain. Treat it as such. And make it work for you and you work for it. And it'll be a great thing for all of you. And that's what I wish for all of you is to find out what you call successful and accomplish that. And I think that's the real thrill and opportunity that all of us have. So thank you very much for being with you.